I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space.
The most eye-roll-worthy part of that Blue Origin space flight, you know, the one that had Katy Perry, Gayle King, Jeff Bezos' fiancée, and a couple other VIPs floating around, wasn't the launch. Nope, it was the way they acted afterward. You'd think they had just returned from a mission to Mars the way they landed, all smiles and drama, but in reality, they barely grazed the edge of space. We're talking about a quick little hop, around 60 miles up, maybe 10 minutes of weightlessness, then straight back down. Honestly, it was less space mission and more high-tech theme park ride. And here's where things start to go off the rails. Katy Perry has been stuck in full-blown damage control mode ever since. What should have been a cute little publicity stunt has become a PR headache. And fans? They're starting to dip out. Not just because of the flight itself, but because of how extra she was before, during, and especially after the whole thing. Her reactions, the drama, the way she hyped it up, now it's all backfiring. And the way she's trying to smooth it over, it's only dragging her Blue Origin and even Bezos deeper into the cringe pool.
And it's women who are behind the scenes at NASA and contributed to the space program. Okay, that I get. What did these women do? Like, honestly, one is sleeping with a billionaire who created this program and is jetting people, to outer space for like 10 minutes, for as long as like your average YouTube video takes.
Now, here's the real twist. Katy's starting to talk, and not just about the flight, she's opening up about her career too. During a recent interview tied to her Lifetime's tour, which just launched and runs through December, she dropped some surprisingly vulnerable insight. She said, "Sometimes I think you have to take a closer look at yourself as you age and what your values really are, and in that process, you can get lost." According to Katy, saying yes to Blue Origin was her way of finding direction again. She needed motivation both for her personal life and her music. Apparently, the flight gave her that. She even claimed the whole thing inspired her to try new things with her career and life in general, and now she's planning to incorporate this space journey into her tour, visually, emotionally, and spiritually. Yep, she's now saying her 10-minute ride changed everything for her, and she wants fans to feel that same spark during the show. She's promising some wild surprises on stage and hinted that the tour will honor the experience in a way no one expects.
6 celebrity women, including Gayle King, Katy Perry, and Lauren Sanchez, who is the plastic fiancé of Jeff Bezos, took a Blue Origin rocket into space on a trip that lasted from takeoff to touchdown less than 12 minutes in total.
But here's the part that's really turning heads. Katy's now framing this flight as a historic feminist moment. She's suggesting that she was part of the first all-female crew to do something major in space. And while it's great to see more women taking up space, literally and figuratively, Katy's making it sound like she was the first woman on the moon. She's doubling down hard, telling fans that this journey will be a key part of her Lifetime's tour, not just with visuals and music, but with storytelling too. She got super emotional in one interview, saying it's heartbreaking how women like her are getting dragged just for being a part of what she calls a win for America and women in science. Katy said it's sad how people still get uncomfortable when women do big things, and that this kind of hate needs to be addressed on a societal level. But let's slow down a second, because comparing herself to NASA astronauts who train for years and live in space for months, that's a stretch. A big one. And let's keep it real. Katy's star power hasn't been shining as bright lately. Her music isn't charting like it used to, and newer artists are stepping into the spotlight. Fans are noticing the change, too. If you've seen clips from her recent shows, you can feel it. The energy's not what it used to be. And now, she's trying to spin this Blue Origin ride as the spark that's supposed to reignite her career.
I have no doubt that it was a cool experience. It was not historic or significant in any way, but it was still, I'm sure, cool. More than cool, it must have been profound and quite moving. It's a shame then that it was wasted on a woman with the wisdom and intellectual depth of a newborn poodle.
She's not being subtle about it either. She's building the entire Lifetime's tour around this flight. Between songs, she's planning to share stories about her space experience, trying to make it this deep, emotional arc. Sure, artists get personal on stage all the time, But with Katy, it's like the entire narrative hinges on this one short trip. It's almost like she's trying to force a space legend storyline into her tour, whether it belongs or not. She's even pointing to Jeff Bezos as the person who made all this possible for her, Gayle King, and the other women who went along. She said, "I chased this dream not just to make history, but to inspire other women and fill the parts of my spirit that felt empty." It's clear she wants people to see this flight as a defining moment, not just for herself, but for women everywhere.
Katy Perry went up to the space yesterday and she spent no more than 4 minutes of intense pleasure up there. Came back and talked about how much in love she was with it, how amazing it all was. And she's talking as if she's Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin, you know, landing on the moon, first people planting a flag. She was in space for 4 minutes. She's got longer songs than that.
She's been hyping up her Lifetimes tour like it's going to be some kind of epic tribute to her space journey, loaded with surprises and feminist flair. Katy says it's all about honoring women, pushing boundaries, and motivating girls to dream bigger, dreams that apparently now include commercial space travel. She even claimed that she believes everyday women will one day get the same opportunity she did, floating among the stars. But that's when things start to veer into tone-deaf territory. Because, let's be real, that's not how it works. Most regular folks aren't sitting around waiting for their invite to board a billionaire-backed rocket. They're busy trying to afford groceries, gas, rent, and student loans, not planning a suborbital joyride to find themselves. Katy Perry acting like her luxury spaceflight is something we'll all get to experience someday? That's not just out of touch. It's borderline insulting. The average American isn't shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars to float for 11 minutes. So now, once again, Katy's caught spinning in circles, trying to sell this whole idea that her tour is a spiritual comeback, rooted in this deeply transformative space experience. She's acting like that brief moment above Earth healed her soul, fixed her career burnout, and gave her a whole new outlook on life. But honestly, nobody really knows what's going on with her in 2025. It's like she's trapped in her own storyline, believing she's on some kind of space-fueled redemption arc.
We're expecting was for us to admire the fact that they were rich enough and famous enough to have been granted this utterly vacuous experience from
has shot a bunch of women tourists who are totally unqualified to be astronauts in a remotely controlled spaceship for 10 minutes into orbit. How insufferable, all the feminists aboard? How much do we not want this rocket to return to Earth?
And just when you think she's wrapped it up, she closes with one of her signature dramatic declarations. Something about how the world shouldn't revolve around money or fame, but instead should focus on protecting the human spirit and inspiring people to do the impossible. She swears that her trip inspired a whole new generation and that what they did together, yes, all 11 minutes of it, was historic. And don't even think about calling it a PR stunt, because according to Katy, this is so far from the truth. But let's not sugarcoat it. People remember the details. And the fact is, she didn't actually reach low orbit. That Blue Origin flight barely made it past the official boundary of space, maybe 60 miles up, then back down in a blink. So treating it like she joined the astronaut elite? That's a tough sell. Nobody's buying into this fantasy where Katy Perry is now some kind of space hero. And now it gets even more over the top. Word is, she's working on a mini documentary to go with the tour, centered entirely on her Blue Origin flight. Yep, she's pulling together behind-the-scenes footage, reflective monologues, even her personal journal entries, all to give fans a peek into her so-called transformation. She wants to reframe the narrative and prove that it wasn't just some billionaire-sponsored space vacation, but let's be real, that's exactly what it looked like. The more she pushes this storyline, the more people side-eye the whole thing. Because at the end of the day, this feels less like a documentary and more like a distraction. A distraction from the fact that her music just isn't hitting like it used to. Instead of letting the music speak for itself, she's trying to rebrand this luxury flight as an empowering moment for all women everywhere. But the public isn't falling for the "I'm just like you" pitch. It comes across as privileged and completely out of touch with reality. And the timing? Yeah, that's raising eyebrows too. Her tour isn't selling like she hoped, and suddenly she's the face of feminist space travel? Please. Now insiders are saying her team is even reaching out to schools and youth programs to collaborate on educational materials based on her space trip. Allegedly, it's all about motivating young girls to reach for the stars. But here's where things go off the rails. These materials reportedly frame Katy as a modern-day space pioneer. You heard that right. A pop star who rode a rocket for 10 minutes is now being presented as the female version of Buzz Aldrin. It's not sitting right with a lot of people. Parents and educators are pushing back, calling it misleading and just plain ridiculous. Because yes, inspiring the next generation is a good thing, but let's not pretend a celebrity's ride on a billionaire's rocket is anything close to the years of sacrifice and danger that real astronauts face. Katy's trying to spin this into a whole new identity, but it's reading more like a branding campaign than an inspirational movement. Every time she brings it up, the internet erupts, and not in a good way. The backlash is building, not fading. And the more she talks about this life-changing space ride, the more obvious the disconnect becomes between how she sees herself and how the public sees her. Let's not forget, she went up around 60 miles, floated for a few minutes, and came back down. That's it. Meanwhile, real astronauts, people who live in zero gravity for months, conduct experiments, and risk their lives, barely get a headline. Some of them spend close to a year orbiting Earth and don't get half the attention Katy got for her 10-minute ride. That tells you everything about today's media landscape. They'll spotlight celebrity space tourists over actual scientific achievements every time. The headlines were more about Katy Perry's hair, her outfit, and her Instagram captions than anything remotely related to space exploration. And now she's trying to stretch that 11-minute thrill ride into a full-blown comeback story. From the tour, to the doc, to the motivational speeches, it's all one big, glittery overreach. People are seeing through it. But what do you think? Is Katy Perry just reaching, or is she actually rewriting history? Drop your take in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's been following all the drama. And hit that notification bell. We've got more wild stories on the way. Catch you in the next one.